a lot of times being a combat veteran, people come up on Memorial Day and they'll thank me. And I appreciate it, but this day isn't for me. This day isn't for veterans in general. This day really is to memorialize the people who gave the ultimate sacrifice, and not just for their country, but for the people they served with, for their families, and for the idea of what America is. And it got frustrating during the war to watch some of these reporters and some of the people in Hollywood try to push this narrative that, men and women don't join the military to serve their country. They do it for a job, or they do it for benefits. And then when they fight, they're not fighting for their country. They're just fighting for the person to their left and right. And I despise that narrative. And the reason why I do is not because it isn't true that people are fighting to the person to their left or the right. We're in combat. We absolutely are. But this idea that that's the only thing that drove us to serve in the first place is absolute garbage. Just about everyone I know that I served with was patriotic. Just about everyone I know that I served with not only cared about the person to the left and the right, they cared about their country. They cared about the ideas which informed our country. They cared about their families. They cared about their kids growing up in a country that was going to allow them to live their lives the way they wanted to live them, to be genuinely and truly free. And all of those factors played into the idea of why they joined in the first place, why they went overseas and fought, and their conduct once they were in dangerous situations overseas. And so I want to dispel this idea that, that it's just about the man to your left and right, or the woman to your left and your right. That is a critical part of it. But don't take away the other influences or the other factors that encourage people or lead people down a path where they decide to serve, and where they decide to serve in roles that could put them in incredible danger, to include mortal danger. The other thing I want to avoid against is this idea where we treat people that joined the military, served overseas, whether they were wounded, whether they came back with mental health issues, or whether or not they were killed in combat. Don't treat them like victims. Again, one of the most abhorrent things I think you can do is treat a combat veteran like a victim, or treat someone that died in combat as a victim, especially in an era where we have an all-volunteer force. The other thing that I would caution people against on Memorial Day is making Memorial Day totally a referendum on U.S. foreign policy. I have issues with U.S. foreign policy. I've articulated those issues with foreign policy. But today is supposed to be about remembering who these people were and the enormous sacrifice that they made. And we talk about sacrifice. It's a word that we just throw out there. And what I'm going to attempt to do today is give some context to what we mean by sacrifice, because it wasn't only the sacrifice of the people that went overseas and died. And I'm going to list 4 people today here that I knew. It's also about the sacrifice that their families made and what they gave up. Or a better way to talk about it is, a lot of times we talk about people losing their lives. They didn't lose them. They made a conscious decision to fight for something that they believed in. And in the course of doing that, they gave their lives in order to fight for something that they thought was truly unique and special and worth fighting for. And if we want to honor the people that made that final sacrifice, you don't do that by treating people like they were victims, or treating people like they went overseas to fight just because they were a tool of U.S. foreign policy. That's not how you do it, in my opinion. Maybe someone can disagree with me, but that's the way I see it. And I'm pretty adamant about this. And one of the other reasons why I think it's important to talk about these things is that I've had a lot of people that I know, that I respect, that are friends, that as they talk about Memorial Day, they'll say things like Happy Memorial Day, or what are you planning to do for Memorial Day? And generally what they mean by that is, are you going on a trip? Are you going to have a barbecue? Are you going to the beach? Are you going to the pool? What is it? And I want to make something very, very clear. When someone says Happy Memorial Day, I don't get offended by that. I understand the spirit in which they mean it. When somebody starts talking about their plans for Memorial Day, I don't begrudge them the idea of taking a long weekend and spending time with family and friends in order to enjoy life. I mean, my gosh, if we weren't fighting for your ability to use your freedom in a way to benefit yourself, your family, your friends, I mean, what were we fighting for? So I want people to enjoy all of those things, but I want them to also understand at the same time that we're doing all of that, that Memorial Day has a very specific purpose. And that purpose is not just to give an extended weekend. And if you're wondering how combat veterans view something like Memorial Day, there's a lot of different emotions that come up with that, right? Some of it is proud of having to serve with the people that you've served with and that you're actually remembering. Some of it has to do with guilt. Clinically, it's referred to as survivor's guilt, but what it essentially comes down to is constantly wondering, why them, why not me? And I think one of the things that we struggle with, and then honestly that we should struggle with, is that when we found ourselves in a situation where we went to combat and we lost someone that we cared about, or if you're a citizen that just appreciates that somebody went and fought for you and gave up everything as a result of that, the best way to honor those people is to live your life in such a way that brings honor to the sacrifice that they made. The way I've referred to it before is I want to make sure that not just my kids, but the kids of friends that I lost grow up in a country worthy of their sacrifice.